the parole hearing of Oscar Pistorius, which is being held in Pretoria. The Correctional Supervision and Parole Board for the Kgoshi prison is meeting to consider the profile of Pistorius and whether he is suitable for social integration or not. Pistorius was convicted of killing his girlfriend, Reeva Steenkamp, on Valentine's Day in 2013. The Steenkamp family spokesperson is set to brief the media.
That we are able to make a statement that gives other victims a voice to be heard. And I think one of the issues that is required in order for us procedurally to be heard as victims is to register with correctional services that you do have an interest in any parole hearing that takes place in the future. And that is critical, because if you don't tell correctional services about your interest, there's a good chance that you won't be invited to that parole hearing. And as I said earlier on, the importance of victims being at a parole hearing is that that's the one time that you have a voice in order to talk about the impact of the tragedy on your life and those that are near to you, and any other issues that have not been dealt with during your journey. The offender is resourced when he's in incarceration with a number of different professionals, and the victim does not have that benefit. And so, as members of the press, you guys have an incredible influence out there, and if somehow we can put that message across that the victim's voice needs to come into the process, and particularly now with the lead up to this 16 days of activism, I'm not sure what that does, because you just read the paper about all the tragedies that have taken place during that course. This Kirsten lady who was running in Sandton and murdered and raped a week, 2 weeks before this process of activism against crime, gender-based crime, just leaves me cold. So if I could leave that as a thought. Make sure that this is switched off. What I'd like to read to you today, as a representative of June Steenkamp, is her victim impact statement. And should there be any questions, I'm very happy to try and answer them at the end of my reading of the statement. She writes as follows: at the time of writing this victim impact statement, my memories go back to when my beautiful daughter Reeva Rebecca Steenkamp was born. Reeva was born a miracle. She entered our lives after medical experts predicted that I would have difficulty conceiving after a miscarriage. Barry and I had big dreams for Reeva. From a young age, she became a skillful equestrian and liked nothing better than helping Barry, who managed stables and trained racehorses. From a very young age, she had the ability to light up a room with her presence. When she fell off a horse at the age of 20 and had to spend months recovering, she decided to become a model and use her public profile to garner support for victims of domestic abuse and rape. In the 29 years that Reeva lived, she developed into a well-rounded young lady, completed her law degree, and started a successful modeling career. She already started using her voice to advocate the plight of those that were exposed to domestic abuse and rape. It has taken me the past 10 years to come to realize that Reeva appeared to have fulfilled her destiny during her life, and more abundantly so in her tragic death. Reeva's name and her demise continues to raise awareness around gender-based violence worldwide. But did Reeva fulfill her dreams? I know she didn't. Shortly before she died, she started discussing marriage and having children one day as part of her dream. At 29, she was certainly mature enough and would have made a wonderful mother and wife. Were our dreams for Reeva fulfilled? Of course not. We realized we were blessed as our daughter left us memories we could only be proud of. The massive hole left in our future can never be filled by anyone else. Recently, our family suffered a further blow. It is probably known that my dear husband Barry suffered a stroke 2 months after Reeva's trial began, when he was confronted with more headlines while reading the newspaper. Reeva was a real daddy's girl, and he a doting father. She made an effort to sustain a strong relationship with both of us, and used to telephone her father on Saturday and me on Sunday. I have no doubt that Barry died of a broken heart. No parent should have to bury a child, and certainly not in the circumstances that prevailed in the demise of Reeva. Following Reeva's death, Barry and I, both devastated, tried with whatever emotional reserve that remained to take care and support one another. And then the unthinkable happened. My Barry passed away on 14 September 2023. What he meant in my life and the extent of his support have now crystallized into what remains after an unending black hole of pain and loneliness. I miss my partner and confidant dearly. The fact that he is reunited with Reeva offers some respite, but does not ease the terrific sense of loss that I have to come to terms with. I'm not attending Oscar's parole hearing, as I simply cannot muster the energy to face him again at this stage. Barry's demise has opened up the wounds in many ways caused by Reeva's death. I had forgiven Oscar long ago, as I knew most certainly that I would not be able to survive if I had to cling to my anger. I do not believe Oscar's version that he thought the person in the toilet was a burglar. In fact, I don't know anybody else who does. My dearest child screamed for her life, loud enough for the neighbors to hear her. I do not know what gave rise to his choice to shoot through the closed door 4 times at somebody with hollow point ammunition, when I believe he knew it was Reeva. I do know that messages sent by Reeva highlighted huge anger issues. Reeva's messages were read out in court by Francois Moller of the Hawks, obtained from Pistorius and Reeva's cell phones. Following a fight between Reeva and Oscar on the 27th of January 2013, Reeva wrote, and I quote, "I'm scared of you sometimes, and how you snap at me and how you will react to me. Next quote. I'm the girl who fell in love with you, but I'm also the girl who gets sidestepped when you are in a SH1T mood. I get snapped at and told my accent and voices are annoying. Third quote. I was not flirting with anybody today. I feel sick that you should suggest it, adding that he effed up a special day for me by throwing a tantrum. The last quote. You do everything to throw tantrums in front of people. These are extracts from the cell phone. In 2009, a case of assault was opened at Boschkop Police Station for the assault of Cassidy Taylor Memory. The victim required surgery to her ankle. His girlfriend prior to Reeva, Samantha Taylor, described similar behavior by Oscar, throwing tantrums, physical and emotional abuse, all of which were fully described in the book published by her mother. I do not know to what extent his behavior still exists or were evident during his time of incarceration, but I'm concerned for the safety of any woman should this not have been addressed in his rehabilitation process. I do not know which rehabilitation programs were attended by Oscar while incarcerated, but I sincerely hope that his rehabilitation included psychotherapy to deal with his temper and abusive behavior towards women. I also hope that specialist criminologists were engaged to assist in compiling a psychological profile that would assist in determining he's a risk for recidivism. At this time, I'm not convinced that Oscar has been rehabilitated. Rehabilitation requires someone to engage honestly with the full truth of his crime and the consequences thereof. Nobody can claim to have remorse if they are not able to engage fully with the truth. If someone does not show remorse, they cannot be considered to be rehabilitated. If they are not rehabilitated, the risk of recidivism is high. I am informed that an inmate's remorse and the extent to which they are rehabilitated are taken into consideration at the time of making a parole decision. It is my earnest wish that no one should be subjected to gender-based violence. I hope that parole board panels will evaluate an inmate's rehabilitation by considering his or her engagement with the truth in determining the presence or absence of remorse. My dear Barry left this world utterly devastated by the thought that he had failed to protect his daughter, and therefore, in his role as a father, as he perceived it. The only hope he had left was that Oscar would find it in himself to eventually tell the full truth. It is my hope that the parole decision treat the safety of women as the most important consideration by exercising their power of judiciary. The pain caused by the dastardly murder of Reeva did not only include emotional trauma, it also included trauma that manifested physically, as became evident in the acceleration and deterioration of health in both Barry and myself. When Reeva died, I was a young 67 and Barry 70 years old. I can confirm that our lives were gravely impacted, physically, emotionally, and financially. Should it be decided that Oscar is sufficiently rehabilitated, it is my wish that the parole policies and procedures of the Department of Correctional Services be applied consistently in his release. Signed, Reeva Steenkamp. Thank you. I'm not sure if there are any questions that I can answer, or we can meet again when I give you a debriefing after the hearing. Thanks very much for your time and consideration. Thank you.
We're still outside the Kgosimampur prison here, where Oscar Pistorius is inside, and the parole board is currently deciding whether or not he will be given parole. We've heard from the Reeva Steenkamp, the mother of Oscar Pistorius, through a victim impact statement read by Rob Matthews, describing her thoughts with regards to the release of Oscar Pistorius on parole, hearing from her that she could not muster the courage to be here today and to face Oscar Pistorius, saying that given the death of her husband Barry in September this year, she could not see herself facing Oscar once again. She also says she does not believe Oscar's version of events, that he did not know that Reeva Steenkamp was inside that bathroom when he shot 4 times through the door. She says that her daughter Reeva Steenkamp, according to witness reports, was heard screaming as loud enough that the neighbors could hear her, and that she cannot understand how Oscar Pistorius did not know that it was Reeva inside. She also says that she does not believe that Oscar Pistorius is rehabilitated, saying that he has not believed or admitted the truth of the version of events, and saying that she says that there have been no remorse from him at the stage. We're yet to find out whether or not the Department of Correctional Services and the parole board decides on whether Pistorius will be released from prison and be rehabilitated into society. We'll keep you updated as we get briefings from the Department of Correctional Services, as well as once again from Rob when we do know more. But for now, back to you in studio.
There is Hasina Kori there as the parole board will be hearing Oscar Pistorius' application once again to be released on parole, and of course the statement that was read there by Rob Matthews, who is now the spokesperson for the family, and especially the impact statement that was read of Reeva Steenkamp, the mother of Reeva Steenkamp, and she was speaking there about the screams that were heard by the neighbors. And I remember covering that particular story, and remember in the court case as well, and the witnesses describing those screams as blood-curdling screams that the neighbors could hear as those 4 shots went off.